that was. Come back anytime. Do another. Yeah. So this is the week we celebrate Thanksgiving, this Thursday. It's a holiday that's all about family and turkey and thankfulness. Many families have a tradition of going around the table at Thanksgiving, each member sharing what it is they're thankful for this year. Just like that family in the reading. And they've established, though, a habit of doing it every night at dinner. I assume it normally goes a little better than on this particular occasion. As the author says, gratitude has a healing power at our table that is more tangible than forgiveness or even ice cream. That's pretty powerful. Yeah, gratitude has a healing power. I've been in the habit of checking in at the end of every day, making time for a prayerful attitude. I always begin by saying, thank you for this day. Then I go through the day in my mind, looking at each thing I did or the things that happened, and finding something in each one to be grateful for, or somehow reframing it so that I can express gratitude for it. And I can feel the difference it makes in my outlook. As I look for things in my life to be grateful for, it helps me to stay positive. It helps me feel more peaceful and content and be better able to deal with whatever life happens to throw at me. For instance, if it was a beautiful day, I'm always grateful for that, especially if it was a warm, beautiful day. If it rained, I can feel gratitude for the way the rain helps all the plants, all the things that grow in the ground. If I got a lot accomplished, I express gratitude for that. And if I didn't, I can be thankful for having had a chance to relax and recharge my batteries. And who am I thanking when I say thank you for this day? Theists, people who believe there's something they call God, might say I'm thanking God. And what that means to each of us may be something very different. But there doesn't need to be a being, however conceived, in order to offer up our thanks. The Reverend Mark Holter tells a story about his colleague, Nick Cardell. He describes Nick as a, quote, solid humanist, and says neither his church nor his family had ever heard him praying to any deities. One day, he says, on one of those gorgeous days when it would be an absolute sin to stay inside, Nick took his young son on a walk to a nearby pond he was fond of. And I'll quote, "They took their time, Nick and his son, crept down to the water's edge, skipped smooth, flat rocks on the surface of the pond, threw in some clunkers just to hear that plunking sound, stopped and looked at bugs, stopped and picked berries, and just sauntered as aimlessly as you can on a day like that. Somewhere, maybe halfway around the pond, when Nick was walking in front and his son was behind, he heard his son say, 'Thank you.' Well, he had heard it. He wasn't actually paying much attention. He had got wrapped up in some thoughts. Then he heard his son again. 'Thank you.' He turned around to see if they had been joined on the path by someone. No one else was present, just Nick and his little boy. He decided to find out what was going on, so he walked the few steps back to where his son was and asked him, 'What did you say?' 'It's so beautiful. Thank you,' said Nick's little boy. 'You're welcome,' said Nick. 'I'm not thanking you,' said Nick's son. Now, to a good humanist like Nick, especially in those days, this was a little worrisome. Was he about to have his first theological discussion with this little guy? And if he was, what was he going to say? And if his son was addressing some celestial being, where did he get this notion? Certainly not at home. So Nick composed himself and asked, "Who are you thanking, son?" His son looked at him and looked a little puzzled. "No one, Daddy," came the response. And with an even more puzzled look on his face, he added, "Do you have to thank a someone?" And with that answer, Nick was more than relieved. He was enlightened. He got a new glimpse of what his own religion was about from this little unintentional preacher. Do you have to thank us, someone? Can't we just be grateful? Thanksgiving is a wonderful opportunity to remind ourselves that life goes better if we approach it with an attitude of gratitude. I used to have a hard time myself with gratitude. I saw it as a feeling, and so I figured it was something I had no real control over. Feelings come and go. If you don't feel it, you just don't feel it, right? But I have come to see gratitude as an attitude toward life and the universe, an attitude which can be cultivated through practice. And cultivating an attitude of gratitude helps us move in the direction of peace and joy. It's worth doing. It's an acceptance of life as it is. It is to be able to say yes to life, even in the midst of life's trouble and life's pain. It is a choice. It is choosing to see the glass half full instead of half empty. It is allowing ourselves to see the beauty and goodness even sometimes in the midst of pain and suffering. And as the guest table boxes were being distributed a little bit earlier, Jerry was up here for the sound and said to me, "The world's in a terrible place right now." And I thought, yes, it is. And yet we can still be grateful for what it is we have, for this blessed community around us, for the love in our lives that comes from somewhere, even if we don't feel it all the time or in every moment, or from everybody we wish we felt it from. The food we're going to eat at lunch today, the food at coffee hour. There's so much to be grateful for, so much. For some time, I have been working at cultivating an attitude of gratitude. As I've said, it's not something that came easily to me. One of my books on the Enneagram, it's this personality system I'm really fond of. This book has recommendations for each of the 9 types. And one of the recommendations for my type is to make a list of all the things you are thankful for. Make it big and post it on the wall. So, as I reflect on my day before going to bed, I look for the things to be thankful for. And by looking, I usually find things, or I find new ways to look at things. And that changes how I feel. It really does make a difference in the long run. Gratitude is a choice, and we can respond to life with complaints, or we can respond with gratitude. It really has nothing to do with the things that life throws at us. It has everything to do with how we choose to perceive our situation and respond to it. Some researchers at the University of Miami did some experiments to study the effects of gratitude on people's lives. According to a New York Times article, They instructed people to keep a journal listing 5 things for which they felt grateful, like a friend's generosity, something they learned, a sunset they'd enjoyed. The gratitude journal was brief, just 1 sentence for each of the 5 things, and done only once a week. But after just 2 months, there were significant effects. Compared with the control group, the people keeping the gratitude journal were more optimistic and felt happier. They reported fewer physical problems and spent more time working out. Interesting about that working out. But you know, that can help you feel more positive too when you exercise. So practice gratitude. It improves your life and the lives of those around you. Ultimately, it makes a difference to the world. And it doesn't matter what your theology is. We don't have to thank someone. Of course, if you want to thank someone for this great gift of life, you can thank your parents. And here's a story of someone who did just that. Imagine this scene. A man of around 35 has been to a men's movement weekend. While away, he realizes that he's never told his father that he loves him. So he decides when he gets home, he'll do it. He gets home, picks up the phone, and calls home. Dad answers the phone. "Hi, Dad, it's me." "Hi, son. I'll get your mother." "No, don't get Mom. It's you I want to talk to." There's a pause, and then, "Why? Do you need money?" "No, Dad. It's just I've been remembering a lot about you, Dad, and the things you did for me, working all those years to put me through college, supporting us. My life is going well now, and it's because of what you did to get me started. I just thought about it and realized I'd never really said thanks." Silence on the other end of the phone. The son continues, "I want to tell you thanks and that I love you." "Son, you've been drinking?" This Thanksgiving season and beyond, let us not dwell on the downside of life, the dark side. Let us see the good in life and find something to be grateful for in our situation and in this troubled world. Let us be thankful for life itself. Let us simply be thankful. And let's sing once more. Life is the greatest gift of all, number 331 in your great hymn. Please rise in body or in spirit.
sacrament of the free church. The church is a stream of living souls and will thus outlive each of us sitting here today. We are building up and nourishing a church that will be here for our children, our children's children, and all souls who find in its walls a true and valid expression of religion. Today's offering will also be shared with PrideWorks. See your order of service for more information. The morning offering will now be given and received in a spirit of grateful fellowship. Join me in the dedication of the offering, which is found in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith.
Our time together ends. In the days before we come together again, may our actions match our words, may our thoughts be filled with love, and may we truly make a difference in a troubled world. Go in peace.